Imagine a world that suddenly goes dark. In your pocket, your smartphone becomes a useless brick of glass and metal. In your garage, your modern car refuses to start. In the cloud, the servers that hold the world's banking data, medical records, and social memories simply blink out of existence. This isn't a scene from a science fiction movie. It is a very real possibility if one small island in the Pacific were to stop working for just 24 hours. Before we reveal the uncensored truth of the Taiwan Miracle, make sure to hit that subscribe button for TGA and turn on notifications. We are building the world's most comprehensive archive of critical stories, and you don't want to miss our next deep dive. To understand the power of Taiwan, you must first understand its terrain. Shaped like a green tobacco leaf floating in the Northwest Pacific, the island covers roughly 36,000 square kilometers, or 14,000 square miles. For our American viewers, that is about the size of Maryland. For our European audience, it is almost exactly the same size as the Netherlands. But while the Netherlands is flat, Taiwan is a vertical labyrinth. A massive spine of mountains, the Central Range, cuts the island in half. There are over 200 peaks here that soar above 3,000 meters, or nearly 10,000 feet. This geography has dictated the entire history of the nation. Because the eastern side is a rugged wall of cliffs and forests, almost the entire population of 23 million people is packed into the narrow, flat plains of the west coast. This extreme density has created some of the most vibrant and crowded urban environments on Earth. In the north, you have the Taipei Basin, a neon-lit forest of skyscrapers anchored by Taipei 101. Moving south, you find the industrial powerhouses of Taichung and the ancient port city of Kaohsiung. But the island is not alone. The Republic of China also governs several strategic archipelagos. There is Penghu in the middle of the Taiwan Strait, battered by salty winds. There is the volcanic Green Island and Orchid Island, where indigenous Tao people still navigate the deep blue sea in hand-painted canoes. And then, there are the frontline islands, Kinmen and Matsu. These outposts sit so close to the mainland, some less than 10 kilometers or 6 miles away, that on a clear day, as you can hear the traffic and see the billboards of the cities on the other side. This geography is Taiwan's greatest strength and its most dangerous vulnerability. How did a war-torn island with no oil and no gold become one of the wealthiest nations in Asia? The answer begins not in a laboratory, but in the mud of a banana plantation. In the early 1950s, Taiwan was a poor agricultural society. The government, led by the nationalists who had recently arrived from the mainland, realized they needed a way to jumpstart the economy without going into massive debt. They launched a revolutionary program called Land to the Tiller. The state took land from wealthy landlords, paying them with stocks in state-owned companies, and gave that land to the peasants who actually farmed it. For the first time in history, millions of Taiwanese families owned the ground beneath their feet. This created a massive, motivated middle class. During the 1960s, Taiwan became the Kingdom of Bananas and the Sugar Bowl of Asia. They exported fruit and sugar to Japan at such high volumes, but here is the uncensored part of the miracle. The government didn't spend that banana money on luxury. They spent it on education. They sent their brightest children to the United States to study physics and engineering. In the 1980s, they invited those banana children back home to build the first microchip factories. They turned the sugar in the soil into the silicon in the circuit board. While the economy was booming, the political reality was dark. From 1949 to 1987, Taiwan existed under the longest period of martial law in modern history at that time. an era known as the White Terror. This was a time of absolute silence. Dissent was not allowed, and thousands of intellectuals, students, and workers were imprisoned or executed. But the uncensored history of Taiwan is one of incredible political resilience. Beneath the surface of the military state, a grassroots movement for democracy was quietly brewing. By the late 1980s, the pressure for freedom became an unstoppable wave. In a transition that few countries have ever achieved, Taiwan moved from a military dictatorship to a vibrant democracy almost overnight, and with very little bloodshed. By 1996, the island held its first direct presidential election. This transformation changed the national identity. Taiwan was no longer just a refuge or a province. It became a modern sovereign society defined by free speech and the rule of law. Today, this democracy is the island's greatest diplomatic shield. It is why global tech giants trust Taiwan with their most sensitive secrets, because they know their patents and their people are protected by a fair and transparent legal system. If you look at the back of your laptop, you might see a label that says "Assembled in China" or "Made in Vietnam." But the brain inside that machine almost certainly came from one place: the Hsinchu Science Park in Taiwan. Taiwan is the undisputed leader of the semiconductor industry. A single company, TSMC, produces nearly 92% of the world's most advanced microchips. These are the foundry chips that power artificial intelligence, military satellites, and the world's financial systems. This industry has created what experts call the silicon shield. The logic is simple. Taiwan is so vital to the global supply chain that if the factories were to stop, the global economy would lose trillions of dollars in weeks. This makes the island a high-value target, but it also makes it a must-protect zone for the entire planet. This tech dominance has pushed Taiwan's GDP per capita past $40,000, making its citizens wealthier, on average, than those in much of Europe or Japan. However, wealth has a hidden cost, and if you walk through the luxury districts of Taipei at 2 a.m., you will see something eerie. Thousands of beautiful, high-end apartments sit in total darkness. These are the ghost houses of Taiwan. Despite the high GDP, Taiwan is facing a massive housing crisis. In 2026, the housing price-to-income ratio in Taipei has become one of the most distorted in the world. For a young couple, buying a home is no longer a milestone. It is a fantasy. It would take a median income family over 25 years of saving every single cent of their salary without spending a penny on food, just to afford a modest apartment. This has led to a speculative bubble where real estate is treated as concrete gold. Wealthy investors buy apartments and leave them empty because property taxes have historically been lower than the tax on owning a car. By 2026, the government has begun to fight back with ghost house taxes, but the damage is done. This concrete crisis is the friction point in the Taiwan Miracle, and it is driving the next major challenge: a demographic collapse. In 2025, Taiwan officially crossed a grim threshold. It became a super-aged society, meaning that 1 in every 5 citizens is now over the age of 65. By 2026, this demographic clock is ticking faster than ever. Taiwan currently has the lowest fertility rate in the entire world, lower than Japan, lower than South Korea. In some years, fewer than 130,000 babies are born across the entire island. This isn't just a social problem, it is an economic emergency. Who will work in the chip factories? Who will pay the taxes to support the elderly? The uncensored reality is that many schools and universities are being forced to close because there are simply no students left to fill the classrooms. The government is desperately trying to fix this by offering massive subsidies for childcare and even exploring AI-driven robotics to care for the elderly. But for now, Taiwan is a nation that is growing very rich while simultaneously growing very old and very small. To run the world's chip factories, you need two things: incredibly pure water and a massive, unwavering supply of electricity. A single factory at TSMC can consume as much power as a small city. Today, Taiwan's high-tech industry accounts for nearly 7% to 10% of the island's entire electricity consumption. But Taiwan has a problem. It is an island with no natural gas of its own and no connection to any other country's power grid. In 2025, the government completed its controversial plan to phase out nuclear power, aiming for a nuclear-free homeland. But the transition to wind and solar has been slower than expected. In 2026, the island is facing a power dilemma. To keep the silicon shield glowing, they must rely on ships carrying liquefied natural gas, LNG, across a dangerous strait. If those ships were blocked for even 2 weeks, the lights in the factories would go out. This makes energy security a matter of national defense. So Taiwan is now rushing to build some of the world's largest offshore wind farms in the stormy Taiwan Strait, turning the very typhoons that threaten the island into the green energy that powers the future of AI. If you want to see the wealth in action, look at the streets of Taipei. This is one of the most digitally integrated societies on Earth. By 2026, the smartphone app Line has become the island's digital nervous system. It is used for everything: paying for a $1.50 bowl of noodles, calling a taxi, paying electricity bills, and even receiving government alerts. In the morning, the cities are defined by the motorcycle waterfall, thousands of scooters pouring into the urban centres. But in 2026, the hum of engines is being replaced by the silence of electric motors. Taiwan has built a unique battery-swapping network where riders can pull up to a station, swap a dead battery for a fresh one in 6 seconds, and keep moving. At night, the city belongs to the convenience stores. Taiwan has the highest density of 24-hour stores on the planet. These aren't just shops. They are hubs for life. You can pick up a package, print a document, eat a high-quality bento box, and pay your taxes, all at 3 a.m. Finally, we must address the shadow that hangs over every microchip and every night market. It is the 130 kilometers, or 80 miles, of water known as the Taiwan Strait. In 2026, war isn't always fought with missiles. It is fought in the grey zone. Every day, Taiwan faces millions of cyber probes. Beijing views the island as a breakaway province that must be unified, while the United States maintains its policy of strategic ambiguity, recognizing one China but ensuring Taiwan has the tools to protect its status quo. For the 23 million people here, this isn't a headline. It is a way of life. They have learned to build a high-tech paradise in the middle of a geopolitical storm. They know that as long as they are the world's most important manufacturer, they are protected by a silicon shield. But in the grey zone, the pressure is constant and the balance is fragile. Taiwan is a small leaf that supports a global forest. It is a place that turned its lack of size into its greatest advantage. It is a society that survived poverty, martial law, and isolation to become the heart of the 21st century. It is a living archive of human resilience and the sheer power of innovation. If you found this deep dive into the Taiwan Miracle valuable, please give this video a like. Don't forget to subscribe to TGA for more uncensored documentaries from the most critical borders on our planet. What corner of the globe should we explore next? Let us know in the comments below. Thank you for watching, and keep exploring.